Hi, I'm Dave Harper, the Executive Director of the New York City AIDS Memorial. I want to thank you for joining us for this virtual presentation of our new program, Hear Me, Voices of the Epidemic. This program originally launched on December 1st, World AIDS Day, at our memorial in the West Village of New York City. But we wanted to give an opportunity to all who cannot travel or gather because of current circumstances to experience this stirring tribute in sound and light. It's long been our goal to create a living and breathing memorial to honor the over 100,000 New Yorkers lost to the epidemic and to acknowledge the incredible and ongoing work of caretakers and activists and others who have led and who continue to lead the fight to end it. We hope you can begin to feel the spirit within our new program. We begin with a land acknowledgement courtesy of the American Indian Community House, and then travel through nearly 40 years of AIDS history through iconic speeches, poems, songs, news reportage, and the language of activism. Thank you for joining us.
Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. The land of the 5 boroughs that make up New York City are the traditional homelands of the Lenape, Merrick, Canarsie, Rockaway, Matinecock, and Haudenosaunee peoples. These lands are also the intertribal trade lands and are under the stewardship of many more indigenous nations today. New York City is home to the largest populations of intertribal Native American, First Nations, and indigenous individuals out of any urban city across Turtle Island, the United States. We acknowledge the systematic erasure of many nations and recognize those still among us today. We acknowledge the peoples of these nations, their cultures, their communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations, and their resilience throughout the HIV/AIDS epidemic and movement. We acknowledge and offer deep gratitude to Mannahatta, the land and waters on which we stand upon. American Indian Community House.
The truth about AIDS, the plague of the 80s.
We've been hearing many acronyms for this disease. Besides AIDS, it was called GRID before, and one of the ones I heard in the last couple of days was called 4-H disease, for the H's being homosexual, Haitians, heroin addicts, and hemophiliacs.
That was Dr. Darrell Regal of the Strang Clinic in New York talking about a new epidemic sweeping the nation today, mostly within the gay communities of large urban centers, but appearing more and more in other groups as well. It's called AIDS, AIDS, for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome, and it destroys the body's normal ability to fight off a host of infectious diseases and cancers. AIDS is a terrifying disease, fatal in almost half the 1,300 cases recorded to date, with no known cause or cure. And it's changing the lives of many gay and non-gay people in America today. AIDS is the cover story in the new issue of Newsweek, and to learn more about it, we have Newsweek Atlanta bureau correspondent Vince Coppola on the line, as well as Dr. James Curran, director of the AIDS Task Force at the U.S. Center for Disease Control in Atlanta. Welcome to you both. Dr. Curran, can you begin by explaining just briefly how AIDS destroys the immune system and how that leads to other fatal diseases?
Well, there seems to be, you're absolutely right in mentioning that the underlying problem is a severe breakdown in immunity. This begins as a breakdown in the body's ability to fight off certain very rare infections which are often present in the body. In addition, through some unknown mechanism, this breakdown in immunity allows the appearance of some very rare cancers which seem to be generally kept in check by the body's immune system.
Such as Kaposi's sarcoma.
Right.
Hello?
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Hi, this is Rodger McFarlane from the Gay Men's Health Crisis.
Oh, hi.
Hi, what can I do for you?
Yeah, I seem to have Kaposi's sarcoma, and I would like to know if you people know how to get Medicaid and stuff like that.
Sure. Who's your doctor, Bill?
Well, I'm being treated at, well, they discovered it September 2nd, I guess.
Where?
Hello? Where?
Yeah, who's your doctor? What hospital are you in?
St. Vincent's.
Uh-huh.
And I saw Dr. Enlow in St. Mark's Clinic.
Right. When did you see him?
I think that was August.
Okay.
5th. It was a Monday.
Uh-huh.
Sometime around then. And he said that it was definitely an acquired immune deficiency.
Right.
And they performed a biopsy and took out one of my lymph nodes, and it was confirmed on September 22nd at St. Vincent's.
Okay, who's taking care of you over there? The house staff? Are you going through the clinic, or do you have a private doctor?
I'm going through the clinic.
Okay.
I have a doctor named Cohen who says that she wants to create a protocol for dealing with Kaposi's.
All right. Let me ask you something. Have you talked to the social worker at the hospital yet?
Yeah, and he suggests that I go up to I'm still able to work, so I am still working. I get very tired very quickly. I don't have a lot of energy.
I'm sure.
I think we're all going to go crazy, living this epidemic every single minute, and the rest of the world goes on all around us as if nothing is happening, not knowing what it's like, what we're going through. We're living through war, but where they live, it's peacetime, and we all live in the same country. Socially, nothing is being done about it. The president has gone on record prepared to veto anything condoning homosexuality when people are dying right, left, and center. The bottom line is, if they can do this to gays, if they can do that to people, say go ahead and die, they can do it to anybody. They can do it to you, and they can do it to me, whatever the circumstances. And if people don't realize that, that's cutting their own throats.
This is a straight woman, a doctor, Dr. Suzanne Phillips, who's a member of ACT UP and who tends AIDS patients day and night.
I'd also like to say I think the issue of the fear of contagion is a very important issue, and so I'm going to tackle it head on because people are afraid. Anyone who knows anyone who has died of AIDS is afraid. There was a time when I was afraid until after about the dozenth funeral of a friend of mine that I had gone to. I have had 4 needle stick injuries in the course of my medical education, which took place largely in the borough of Brooklyn. To date, I test negative. I have held in my arms people who were dying. They were bleeding. They were sweating. There were body fluids involved. If anyone could get this disease from casual contact, I swear to God, I would be HIV positive today. And I want to tell you that my greatest fear about the epidemic is not of people suffering and dying, although I am very afraid of that. I am afraid of the divisions in this society that this disease is causing, because the day that HIV stops us from loving each other is the day that we are through as a human race. Thank you.
Workout, 10 laps, chin-ups, look good. Steam room, dress warm, call home, fresh air, eat right, rest well, sweetheart, safe sex. Sore throat, long flu, hard nodes, beware. Test blood, count cells, red's thin, white's low. Dress warm, eat well, short breath, fatigue, night sweats, dry cough, loose stools, weight loss. Get mad, fight back, call home, rest well. Don't cry, take charge, no sex, eat right. Call home, talk slow. Chin up, no air. Arms wide, nose hard, cough dry. Hold on. Mouth wide. Drink this. Breathe in. Breathe out. No air. Breathe in. Breathe in. No air. Blackout. White rooms. Head hot. Feet cold. No work. Eat right. CAT scan. Chin up. Breathe in. Breathe out. No air. No air. Thin blood. Sore lungs. Mouth dry. Mind gone. 6 months. 3 weeks. Can't eat. No air. Today. Tonight. It waits. For me. Sweetheart. Don't stop. Breathe in. Breathe out.
The crisis that Aboriginal people on Turtle Island are facing is one that can wipe us out if we continue to practice ignorance and hysteria around this disease that is affecting our people. The disease is showing up to being transmitted more so in the heterosexual community where I come from, and that's frightening information. That's frightening news, because the heterosexual community is still in a great state of denial about who we are as two-spirit people, about themselves and the healing that they need. When I think about the action that's necessary for our people, is to begin to help other people break through their denial systems, organizations, communities, and individuals, and to talk about the fact that it's the coming back from this disease is not going to be just a prescription that you pick up at a drugstore. It means change of life. It means change of ways of looking at ourselves as two-spirit people, as Indian people, and as human beings on this earth as a whole, and beginning to respect each other in ways that we have not known for the last 500 years, and that the teachings that we pick up are not just teachings that we pick up for a day or two. This is a lifelong journey, and the recovery from this disease is going to be many lifetimes. Long after I'm gone, people will still be recovering from this disease.
We used to go into amazing denial that even though my girlfriend was dying of AIDS, we wouldn't even recognize that it was HIV or AIDS. We would say, well, she just has a cold, or she just has pneumonia, but it's not that kind of pneumonia. And I remember many times sharing needles in lots in East New York or cookers, and people would say to me, Cheryl, don't share a needle with so-and-so, he's got AIDS. But when you're sick, using and not being sick was more important than dealing with that issue, because if I dealt with that issue, it meant I would have to stop using. So I knew that I was at high risk from my lifestyle, but while I was actively using drugs, like I said, it was a very sick form of denial. I didn't care. So like I knew many friends I was using with, they all have the virus.
He is treated real badly. We took him, he was a friend of mine, his name is Robert Richardson. We took him to St. Vincent's. He was a patient at St. Vincent's. He used to use the clinic there. They literally let him die at St. Vincent's in the emergency room. He had Medicaid, and I think this was one of the problems. I think if he had insurance, he would have got treated a whole lot better. But we were in the emergency room with him. They literally, he was choking on mucus. And they really took their time to do tests. I was there with Lee Chow. We were protesting. They threw us out of the emergency room. They were threatening not to let us get back in. He died in St. Vincent's emergency room, and he died from neglect. I mean, it could have been a whole situation. I think if he had insurance and he was somewhere else, I think he might be alive today. ACT UP did a demonstration at the hospital. And after that, I think emergency room policies, because they made him wait in the emergency room before they even seen him. When he got to the hospital, he was at the point where he had stopped talking. He couldn't walk. He couldn't stand up. I don't know if he was even, we were talking to him. We didn't know if he was like understanding what we were saying anymore. They still made him wait like an hour before they even took him in and did his vital signs. And I had to get a wheelchair for him. They took their time with everything they did. But ACT UP had a demonstration at the hospital. They did meetings. And I went to the hospital with somebody else after that. They did change their emergency room policies because of ACT UP, because of that situation. The triage procedures are much quicker now. People with AIDS are taken right away if they're in like really bad condition like that. Triage is only up to, if they're not supposed to wait more than 20 minutes before they take them in. And I think ACT UP was changed that.
I used to transport AIDS patients a lot, since I was the only one that didn't give the dispatcher a hard time about it. By this time, they were finding out that the disease wasn't airborne, and it was only transmitted by bodily fluids. So I would wear gloves, but refused to wear a mask or suit up to transport AIDS patients. Emergency room nurses would run all kinds of guilt trips about what I was bringing home to my family. I once had a big fight with the charge nurse after I suctioned a patient in the ER with PCP, pneumonia. He was left for over an hour, all congested. Medical staff, on the whole, resented AIDS patients. The feeling was that they were all faggots and dope fiends and deserved what they got. By this time, I knew what the signs and symptoms were. I knew I was positive for the AIDS virus. I started attending a group for women with HIV. I felt like I was the only woman in the world with AIDS. It was all gay white men. This group changed that. All of a sudden, I discovered other women with the virus. There were black women, white women, Latinas, rich women, poor women, addicts, and transfusion women. They were mothers and sisters and lovers and daughters and grandmothers. Some were militant lesbians and others were Republicans. Imagine that, even Republicans get AIDS. And we were all connected by the virus. Outside differences became trivial. Feelings and survival were everyone's concern. And I learned that there was still a lot of love left in me. The rage mellowed.
Plague! We are in the middle of a plague, and you behave like this. Plague! 40 million infected people is a plague. We are in the worst shape we have ever been in. All those pills we're shoveling down our throats, forget it. ACT UP has been taken over by a lunatic fringe. They can't get together. Nobody agrees with anything. All we can do is field a couple of hundred people at a demonstration. That's not going to make anybody pay attention. Not until we get millions out there. We can't do that. All we do is pick at each other and yell at each other. And I say to you in year 10, the same thing I said to you in 1981 when there were 41 cases. Until we get our acts together, all of us, we are as good as dead.
want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. Cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. We want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. You want a cure and not a list. Act up. We're pissed. Rude and strong and queer. Act up. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. Act up. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. Act up. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. Act up. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. Act up. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. Act up. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. We're here. We're loud and rude and strong and queer. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Pump up the budget. Black, white, gay, straight, AIDS does not discriminate. 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 Black, white, gay, Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us. Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot, stop us, just try it. Remember Stonewall was a riot. We're not leaving. We're not leaving. We're not leaving.
The issues today that HIV is informed by poverty and racism because the epidemic now is for people who look like me, much younger than me, but people who look like me. The face has changed.
We're here to demand that we get funding, that we get support for the services that we need. These services are not luxury services. These are to keep families together. These are to keep our next generation, our children's children, to give them some standards, to give them some hope. We have 4,000 people with HIV living throughout New York State that don't have programs to help them with rental assistance. Is that right? No! So we're here because this is the worst homeless crisis since the Depression. Wow. And if something's not done, if there's not money and services put into it, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Listen, Arthur Ashe, John Campbell. So we're back today. We've escalated our action. We're here today. We're going to read the over 100,000 names of people who we have lost to AIDS. That's unthinkable. And if we don't do something now, we're going to lose 100,000 more. We cannot allow that to happen, especially because now we have the tools in order to do this. But the tools need money. If you have a blueprint in a wonderful house, you can't build a house with the blueprint, no matter how good the blueprint is here.
Bill Adele Arthur Ferber, Victor Kevin James Farrell, Michael Farragut, Lettuce, Thomas S. Thomas J. F. My friend Dee Phillips.
What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on?
Just having a meeting and saying these things to someone from a sort of clinical perspective, it doesn't really demonstrate the deep tragedy that's happening.
We don't get it! Shut it down!
That only happens from people who are living with HIV standing in front of you and yelling at you, I am dying, and I need to not die.
To see this whole village transform into what it is now is taking away the history of what this village was and should always be. The village is for us. Can I get amen? Amen. And the gentrification has taken away all of the history of what the struggle the LGBT community had to go through. And sometimes I cry when I come down here and look at what they've done. They have, in the news, when they talk about the village, they do not talk about us in a good way. All they talk about is what's wrong and not the true history of where we came from and the struggles we had to go through. The village is a good place, and it has a lot of good memories for me, good and bad. The first time I ever came to the village, the medium that's in the highway behind you, there was a train track up there. I don't know if some of you remember that, but there was a train track there. And I have watched that go. I have watched the buildings that were down here go. I have watched all of this whole Hudson Park be recreated into what it is today. It's scary because as they change the look, they are changing the history, and they're not talking about the history. And this village is a legacy, and people need to understand and know what it was and what it stood for. This was our safe haven. This was our home. We could come down here and be yourself. When I first met Marsha P. Johnson, who you all should know, okay, I met her down here, and she looked at me and she gave me some flowers. It says, "You are beautiful. And never let anybody tell you what you cannot do." And I thought, this chick is crazy. You know, but I was young and I didn't understand. And as I grew older and I started to see what she was doing and what her and Sylvia created, every day I fight harder and harder to make sure that every trans woman or man has a vision. They can know that they are safe no matter where they are. There are rights that they know they can have. And with that note, I bid you adieu.
O Lord, how blessed are my frozen toes, my winter socks, the doorways and my keys that fit them. How wicked, the truth that now I am made to remember, research, instead of getting to meet, on account of those I might have met are dining down with death. They got their invites too early. Blessed, O Lord, are these compounded seeds that daily repair my internal unmaking. How wicked and unfair that so many were never offered a taste. How blessed these systems, and wicked their overburdening. How wicked that I am only aware of these systems on account of now I belong to them too. How blessed and how wicked, O Lord, the number of folks who felt the need to say to me, it's not the way it was 20 years ago. It's not like it was back then. How absolutely unpardonably wicked, O Lord, that for some of these folks this particular back then is also right now and will forever always be ongoing. O Lord, how blessed, how brutal the stacking of time onto time. It's true. I have done actions not even a poem could condone. I expect no absolution. Oh, how generous the well and how wicked the drought, the worst we've seen in years. It's only one ride left on my two-way ticket, O Lord, and where do I board from here? Blessed is the daily rising in my chest, but I curse this wicked static language, the letters, the red lines, the shame that grooms the boys like me, unknowing, suspicious, afraid, avoiding the gospels of medicine like I did in my days before I suddenly needed them. I curse the time-stopped phone calls, the transfers, the terms and conditions. I curse the manila envelopes, the return to sender within 30 days. I curse it, O Lord, this language designed to hold us here in uncertainty. Can you carry the weight of this language, O Lord? Can you breathe between these impossible syllables?
I once thought that I belonged to this city, that I had an obligation to its giants. But what I've learned is that loneliness may cause you to fall in love with objects over people. Metal and steel that seem unbreakable. Then the towers fell. My mother soon after that. And with her crumbled my belief in invincibility. I believe I was drafted. That my number was picked out of some funny-looking hat. And I immediately had a title and a story. My mind a Chinese fortune teller, always one step ahead, always shifting in colors and numbers and words of encouragement I can't even give to myself. And though I live in a country that for many years was designed to hate me, I'm better at tying my own noose. These words are not written on paper, but prose that I write in my sleep when I should be far off dreaming. Now some of these stories get lost. I found mine through old articles and photographs of my mother, talking about AIDS and miracles. And though she was drafted too, she found herself fighting a battle that she was destined to lose. But along with her smile, I inherited the thickness of her skin, the blood running through my veins, her only living will. So I paint her into pictures, so that I may sleep at night, so she may continue to breathe through 16 by 24 frames of colors, constructed by buildings intruding on skies that never asked for more than air. My father used to sit on the terrace at night and talk to her. She was the moon, and she could only be accompanied by 1 or 2 stars, but it was enough to keep him content. Most days I can't keep my back straight. I hear her telling me to keep my head up, but the curve now runs so deep, the display of confidence causes pain and suffering. So I sink back into the earth. And it's quiet now. My body moving only to the sounds of sirens, glorified by those who call themselves icons, who have reached immortality through lines and shapes and boxes. Bodies moving in sync to the church bells that ring only after midnight. Designated street corners filled with black and brown, glistening from the heat of summer and the iridescent lights that lit up runaway slaves. Delicate, the weeping petals of yellow roses during a rainstorm.
When future generations ask what we did in this crisis, we're going to have to tell them that we were out here today. And we have to leave a legacy to those generations of people who will come after us. Someday the AIDS crisis will be over. Remember that. And when that day comes, when that day has come and gone, there will be people alive on this earth, gay people and straight people, men and women, black and white, who will hear the story that once there was a terrible disease in this country and all over the world, and that a brave group of people stood up and fought, and in some cases gave their lives so that other people might live and be free. So I'm proud to be with my friends today and the people I love, because I think you're all heroes, and I'm glad to be part of this fight. But to borrow a phrase from Michael Callan's song, all we have is love right now. What we don't have is time. In a lot of ways, AIDS activists are like those doctors out there. They're so busy putting out fires and taking care of people on respirators that they don't have the time to take care of all the sick people. We're so busy putting out fires right now that we don't have the time to talk to each other and strategize and plan for the next wave and the next day and the next month and the next week and the next year. And we're gonna have to find the time to do that in the next few months. We have to commit ourselves to doing that. And then after we kick the shit out of this disease, we're all gonna be alive to kick the shit out of this system so that this never happens again.
So many things I wanna do, so many dreams still to come true, so much to give. I wanna be all I can be, I wanna keep you here with me, I wanna live. To life's mysteries, can't hold out for guarantees, there are none. Together we have come this far, don't wonder where the heroes are, you are one. Be proud of all the courage you've shown. You're not alone. Oh, life don't always go the way we plan. Sometimes you have to take a stand. But if I stumble, can I take your hand and feel the healing power of love? Feel the to say, a touch would go a long, long way to show you care. At times I'll wanna run and hide, I may ask you to stand aside, but I'll know you're there. 'Cause I can feel your strength deep as the sea, growing stronger as it's flowing over me. Life don't always go the way we plan. Sometimes we have to take a stand. the healing power of love. Feel the power of love. Healing power, the power of love. We are all in this together. It's gonna take everything that we've got. It's up to me